Well, 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 it has been about a million years since I have done a live on Facebook. And my name is Shannon. If you don't know me, uh, I was sitting here this morning. It is about it's 7 here, and I'm in New York State. It's been snowing. It's a couple days past Christmas. My whole family is asleep. Um, I am actually wearing my pajama shirt. I was sitting here thinking and working on creating some classes, some consciousness events for the new year. And I was like really having this big charging energy of really wanting to create Right Riches for You classes. And I was like, why wait? Why don't I just hop on and create for whoever's out there who's looking for more consciousness, more ease, who's willing to have more consciousness and more ease with money. So that's what this is. I'm no makeup. I'm literally in my pajama top. My whole family's asleep. I if you don't know me, I'm super pumped that you're watching this video and that you found me. I facilitate something called Access Consciousness, which was created by my father, Gary Douglas. And we have a universe of consciousness tools that can impact and facilitate transformation in all areas of life. And one of my favorite areas to talk about, to learn about, to facilitate, to deal with is money. I am one of those weird people who really, really loves money. I wasn't always one of those people that loves money. I actually hated money in my early 20s and had a really huge debt and created all sorts of issues. And using the tools of Right Riches for You, which is what I'm basically gonna talk about, I completely transformed my money reality. But warning, I am one of those people who actually believes that your point of view creates your reality. I don't just believe it, I have witnessed it, I have experienced it, I have transformed massive areas, varying areas of my life by changing my point of view. And so this is where this conversation is going to begin around money. If you're not somebody who wants to like own your points of view, if you're somebody who wants to keep functioning from or believing that stuff happens to you or you're a victim of circumstance, this conversation might not be that fun for you. If you are somebody who is willing to own your choices and to really be conscious about what your points of view are, i.e., like be really honest with yourself, my gosh, what can change, even in the area of money, is pretty awesome. So, Gary Douglas, who I mentioned in the very beginning of this live, is my father. And he has written a book maybe 20 years ago called Right Riches for You. And I guess I'll link that like in the post description if anybody's interested. There's some other resource. There'll be some other Right Riches for You resources there too, and more content. Well, you can find more money content from me there too. And this book, in my opinion, is really like the money book that changed my life, turned the direction of where I was heading with money, and I was able to institute the very practical, but I will warn you, very different ethos, actions, and tools about money. I put them into play, and I like feel so weird talking about money because like nobody talks about money openly in the world, but I'm American, so maybe I have an exception. I was able to go from having a huge credit card debt that at the time in my life felt completely insurmountable to handling, to making multi millions of dollars continuously with a consciousness based business, which to me is cause for celebration and a huge acknowledgement to the efficacy of the tools of consciousness and, of course, my choices. So if you're somebody that really wants to change your money stuff, please enjoy this conversation. And I'm going to start right now with tool. Let's just get right down to the meat and potatoes of it. Let's talk about like, okay, so how do you actually change money stuff? Oh, I'm not going to be that direct and specific to start with, but let me try. Number one, like, what is money? Too many of us sort of function with money without questioning like what it is we're actually functioning with. And some of you guys may know this, and some of you guys may not know this, and some of you guys may hear this and then immediately forget it and go back to functioning as though money is this real entity that matters in the world. But I mean, essentially, money is an invented concept. I know when you hear that, some of you are like, obviously, and some of you guys are like, what do you mean? So, what I mean by that is like money is not natural. It has to be believed in to exist. And in, you know, our case, we have to have like a mass, huge mass agreements on it for it to work within our societies. Somebody invented money as a way of facilitating easier trade, which, in my opinion, was really genius. Because imagine, like, back in the day, you had a cow and somebody else had, you know, iron ore or hay or rice or something, and you wanted their iron ore or their rice or their hay, and you just had a cow to trade. How do you decide what the cow is worth and what the rice is worth? And so they invented money to be able to, instead of, you know, you having to find somebody who wants your cow, you could trade intermediary store of value, i.e., money, that everybody could trade with to get what they wanted, which I love for us. And since the invention of the concept and the societal agreements to use that intermediary called money, it's just obviously evolved a lot throughout the world to what do we know it to be today. And do not mistake the intermediary that we trade, which we call money, and that can be fiat currencies like the paper currency, that can be gold, that can be really anything that somebody else values that you can trade with them for something that you desire. With global financing and banking and a lot of the monstrosities and contrivances that the stock markets are made of, and the ideas that people trade in that manipulate resources, money, etc. Really, at its base level, money is the intermediary that we agree has value as a society that we could use between one another to trade for what we desire. And that's essentially what the economy is. It's people being productive, living, and trading with one another to get what they want in life. I'm putting it very simply, but essentially that's what economy is. It's people living. So when we're using money, we have to remember that like it's an idea. If you gave a monkey or a dog a dollar bill or a bar of gold, would it be the same to them as it is to you? So it isn't money isn't something that naturally occurs. Nature trades in energy. We also are actually trading in energy, but since energy can't be conceived by a lot of people and or controlled, money was invented to get us out of the gifting and receiving of energy flow with one another and nature and into the give and take or the trade of commodity or a conceptual store of value. And that's where we are today. We act as though money is the value, but it isn't. It is an idea that can vanish tomorrow. What is really the value is us, our energy, our consciousness, and our being. And yeah, I know that's a bold statement because how many of you guys believe that money gives you choice or that money is the value and without money you have no value, you have no choice? And if money disappeared tomorrow, if the idea of money disappeared tomorrow, if there was like a magic, if there was a massive global, depression or global downturn, or all the computers went down and all of the banks lost track of all of the money, would you disappear? Would nature disappear? So, one of the things that you have to, well, one of the things that really um, we have to start to deal with when we're talking about, when we're addressing the consciousness around money is the points of view you have about what money is, and then do those points of view impact how money, resource, abundance, energy, having can flow in and out of your life. So, for example, if you have the point of view that money is hard, I'm putting it very simply, but how many of you guys have sort of like a million flavors and versions of that point of view? Like money's hard, or money's wrong, or you have to work hard for money. That's a pretty popular one. Does your point of view impact energy? Absolutely 100% yes. And if you don't know that yet, you should really start looking at what is, which is that the universe is made of energy. This isn't like airy fairy mystical woo woo bullshit. This is fact. The universe is made of energy, literally. What we think are points of view where we put our attention impact that energy. Fact. This is not like metaphysical theory. This is a fact. And no, has science caught up to that fact in ways, yes, but consciousness goes first, science catches up later. Many of you will have seen or heard the experiments by that Japanese doctor whose name I can't remember, where they would like, put a label on a glass of water and photograph the water molecules before and after, like the word was put on the water and how that word changed uh, the water molecule formation. So that's just one example of how our points of view impact energy, and that is really what's occurring is our consciousness or lack of consciousness is influencing the way in which energy manifests or actualizes into matter in our lives. And that's essentially what we're talking about with money. Uh, Money, essentially, like, what is it you think money equals? Does money equal freedom? Does money equal having a bunch of stuff? Does money equal being right? Does money equal having power over others? Does money equal um, you having value? But but is money really equaling those things? Or is it your choice that precedes the money? And so I think talking about choice and talking about how your point of view impacts the way in which money or abundance or resource or stuff can enter into your life, I think that can feel very challenging for people, or maybe a breath of fresh air for you. But we do not live in a world where consciousness is championed, where you are taught to explore your point of view. In fact, you are mostly taught to not be you, to not look at what's real and true, to not be honest, to hide, to suppress. And if you don't, if you expose yourself, or if you're different, if you think different, if you function different, then somehow you're wrong, or you're outside society, or you're a judgeable offense, or you're an idiot. But when it comes to money, it's like if you follow the pack, like, wow, where's that going to lead you? And how many of you guys learned about money from one or both of your parents? And this is not an attack on parents. This is just what we have to really start to explore when we're talking about money, because we learn so much from our primary caregivers. We come in as these like little sponges who absorb reality essentially, and we learn about how to function from our parents, for better or worse. And this is not a conversation about how your parents are wrong, but we do need to look at like what were your parents, or what are your parents' primary points of view about money. Was there a lot of sanity and peace and ease and capability and like generosity around money in the household that you grew up in? Or was there a lot of kind of financial insanity or financial abuse, or just like poverty and stress and anxiety around money and difficulty? And like, so you have to like, first of all, look at, okay, like what were the vibes around money in the household that I grew up in? And now, as an adult listening to this, have you bought any of those vibes, those points of view that your parents had about money? Now, that's a simple question, but the depth of that is pretty extensive because sometimes when we learn things, especially as very small children, like before we think like adults, we learn things vibrationally and energetically and don't necessarily then have cognitive access to that as adults because we don't. Do you think the way you do now? Did you think the way you do now when you were just a baby? No, obviously not. But were you aware when you were a baby? Big time. So you're picking up on all this stuff.
Uh-huh.
Well, my phone just talked to me. That was creepy. Um, you're picking up on all this stuff. My phone was like, uh huh. You're picking up on all this stuff. Your consciousness is aware, even if you don't understand the concepts of money yet. And then those become the neurological connections, i.e., the energetic building blocks that then you go on to base all your points of view, your actions, your choices around money on in the future as an adult. So you have these very deep roots, you have these very deep conceptual money roots in your psychology or in your consciousness that might even be in your unconsciousness or in your subconscious that you might not or won't have access to as an adult because they're not cognitive. They're just vibrational wavelengths that you had access to as a child. And that's where the tools of access come into play. Access consciousness is a set of tools, which is really underselling it, but essentially it's a set of tools that you can use to access the energy that is creating your present reality. Mm-hmm. So you want to destroy and uncreate any point of view that you bought around money, any vibe that you bought around money, any like energy that has words or doesn't have words around money. Because how many of you guys like have all these feelings or energies around money that you can't necessarily attach words to, but they're like these weird feelings or these stressors or these like things that you have with money that impact your reality and the way in which money, resource, having, and energy can flow into your life. So you want to destroy and uncreate all the cognitive and non-cognitive points of view, thoughts, feelings, emotions, energies that you bought around money. And then you use this cool clearing statement, which is like the access delete button, or the energy delete button, right and wrong, good and bad, all 100, podpoc, shorts, povets, boys, bases, creations, and beyonds. And yes, that is gobbledygook speak that might not make any sense to you at all. But it does make a lot of sense once you learn about it. But it's like it's a whole bunch of information condensed down into these like little acronyms and gobbledygook, so you can just sort of get it out quickly. Um, so the part that I can dive into for those of you guys that are interested and really do want to change something around money is the right and wrong, good and bad stuff. And this is essentially how we limit ourselves is with the points of view of right and wrong and good and bad. I know I'm putting that really simply, and I know that that's like a huge thing to say because so many of us desperately want to believe or think that right and wrong and good and bad like are true. But just like money, they're concepts that can be very controlling and dictating, but who dictates what you think? So everywhere, like all of everything that you think is right about money, and everything that you think is wrong about money, and everything that you think is good about money, and everything that you think is bad about money, is it? Is any of that real and true about money? And can it be if money is a concept and it isn't real, we have to believe in it, then we pile on these other concepts on top of it, right and wrong and good and bad, which are conceptual, right? Nature does not believe in right and wrong and good and bad. Only people can believe in things that aren't true. It's kind of amazing that we can do that. Like we can believe in stories, we can believe in things we can't see or taste. We have the capacity to believe ideas, which can be really fun, but it also can be very dangerous if you are not conscious of the ideas that you're putting a lot of energy into believing. And this, my friends, begins the massive conversation and re-education about money. And if like having more ease with money is of relevance or value to you, you will listen to this and question your points of view around money. But we're not just in with Right Riches for You and with Access, and I'll just say I'm not talking about like get rich quick schemes, although this will completely, if you change, if you clear, if you destroy and uncreate all the points of view you've bought, you believe, you make real and true about money. Now I'm saying that very simply, but the implications of that are massive. So many of us have this like network of point of view interconnected with other networks of points of view and belief systems around all areas of our life, but especially money. It can take some elbow grease, but with the tools of Access, it's like 100% possible. But since I'll add this final this final thing, which is if money isn't real, and I mean it isn't, it's a concept, but I'm not saying like let's like disregard the concept at all, because I love having money and I totally am willing to have any resource that makes my life easier and more joyful. So if money isn't the issue, this is a cool tool actually. This is, I think, the question I learned from Right Riches and from my dad that has been my go-to from the day I learned it, that has actually been the most freeing. It's the tool I go to the most when I start getting weird around money or start getting stressed out around money, which I know when I'm getting stressed out around money, I know I am not functioning from my reality. I know I bought somebody else's point of view. I'm in some like money insanity thing. So this is the question I use, and I'll leave you guys with this if you want to play around with it. If money wasn't the issue, like if this isn't about money, because it can never be about money, because money isn't the issue, because money isn't real. If money isn't the issue, if this, like, remove money as the issue from like your thought process around whatever it is you're thinking about with money. Like, if you remove money as the issue out of that whole vibe that you're experiencing, what, if money isn't the problem, if money isn't the issue, then what is this? What is this? What is this? And that will enable you to see what's actually going on, because we make money the issue so much of the time, but a lot of the time money's just the excuse. It's not really the issue, because money follows choice, not choice follows money. Your choice comes first, consciousness and energy first, then actualization follows. If money wasn't the issue, what is this? And you might have to be brutally honest with yourself. You don't need to tell this to anybody else. This is just for you, just for you. If money wasn't the issue, what is this? And how much of the time is, if money comes out of the equation, is it just a choice? Where either you don't want to do something, so you're saying, I don't have the money. Or if money wasn't the issue, what is this? Okay, I'm trying not to have more money than my mom because I don't want to make her feel bad. Or I'm trying not to like have more money than somebody else. Or, I don't want to have money because money equals abuse in the household that I grew up in. Like, there's just so many varying and unique, but also weirdly universal points of view and things that we experience and think around money. But if you take money out of the equation, what are you really dealing with? If money wasn't the problem, what is this? And then I thought that was going to be the last tool, but I'm going to add on to that because you need this information, is a lot of times what we think is a money problem is actually a receiving issue where we don't want to receive or won't receive. And that, my friends, is what we work on with the tools of consciousness, and with the tools of access consciousness is to access your receiving, to access your being, your knowing, your perceiving, your willingness to be in the energy flow of the universe. And I know that can sound like super airy fairy, but like catch up. Like the universe is an energy flow. And if you are being an uber epic control freak or don't want to receive because somewhere in your universe receiving equals abuse or wrong or bad or gross or too much energy or too out of control or all that stuff, well, you're just trying to create it. Ooh la la, what else is possible if you were willing to receive more? So I'm gonna stop talking now. I hope I pressed some buttons in your guys' world. If you would like more of this kind of vibe, more of this energy, more of this change, more of this possibility, I'm going to link some stuff, some more resources below. The Right Riches for You book. My There's a Right Riches YouTube account that has some playlists, some money education playlists that I'll link below. There are other Right Riches for You facilitators out there in the world doing like amazing stuff. And yeah, like what if money could be your friend? Like what if money, God, just imagine this for a sec, guys. What if you had like total peace around money? Meaning you had total peace when you have money, you have total peace even when you don't have money, because money does not dictate and determine what you get to choose. Money can be a great companion, but are you willing to let money be a companion in your life? Newsflash, if you don't have money, you do not like money. So that might be one of the initial fundamental points of view you want to dig in and work on. Please check out Right Riches for You. In the new year, I'm going to be hosting and facilitating the beginning Right Riches for You class, the intermediate Right Riches for You class. We have a Right Riches for You facilitators training class coming May 1st in Vienna, Austria. I am co-facilitating that with two other really accomplished people, my David Kubis and Simone Milicis, who are financial juggernauts in their own right, and we are all totally different and function as ourselves with money and have a lot of different paths, a lot of different know-how, and we'll be really using the tools of Right Riches for You to change reality, essentially. There's my Right Riches for You money lecture, my 7 a.m. December 28th, pajamas on, snow outside, money contribution to any of you guys that this was a contribution to. Wow, if you didn't have to have if you didn't have to be controlled by money, if you didn't have to have a problem with money, like what would you be willing to receive for that?